Okay, so the English Premier League is starting tomorrow, right? We are, just over like 12 to 14 hours away, I think, from the first game. And one of the biggest talking points of this transfer market is actually Liverpool not having signed any players at all. And for me, I was thinking, it's the only team in the Premier League that hasn't made a signing, but it turns out Adeem informed me that it's the only team in the top five leagues that haven't made a signing. So with that, Adeem, over to you. Are you guys frustrated? What are you guys feeling? Are you still confident about your team and your chances?
So it's a two-part thing. The first thing is that we've seen Slot and how he's, tweaked the system, and we're playing, I wouldn't say a better brand of football just yet because it was only pre-season, but it does seem to be a little more fresh. It has more ideas compared to the last few months of Jurgen Klopp's tenure. The other aspect is, of course, when you have a new manager coming in, you need players around him. He can't play or keep with the same system. And we know that, there were problems last season. We know how we did not have a number six that is world class. Endo did a great job at the start, but then he was found out. Alexis McAllister cannot play as the number six. And we spoke about this a few weeks back that we need that number six. So there is a bit of panic in most of Liverpool fans as to say that, we got Richard Hughes in, we've got Michael Edwards in. They've had 2 months to work together, and all they have to show for this is the Anthony Gordon transfer failing and Martin Zubimendi turning us down after he initially said yes. So there is a bit of concern because the window closes in September, which is
Mhm.
like 15 days away. So what are we going to do in 15 days?
So the Zubimendi thing is very interesting, right? I like Liverpool's approach in the transfer market. It's very well thought out, right? As opposed to Chelsea's scattergun approach of like just spray, your transfer gun everywhere, and if it hits somebody, you buy them. But I think, what do you have to say about that, right? Putting all your eggs in the basket of like a Spanish player, and these Spanish players sometimes are notorious for not wanting to leave Spain. You can't blame them, right? If you're in Spain, you're living the good life, the weather is good, the food is good, not wanting to move to like England, which is generally gloomy. So, what do you think? Did they put all their eggs in the Zubimendi basket, and they've left it too late, or what do you think about that?
So I really don't understand this concept of there being just one player for a position that we go for and we need him. Like it has to be him or no one else. Are you trying to tell me that there is no number six out there who's better than Endo or maybe McAllister as the number six? I fail to believe that. I cannot believe that. I don't know what this policy is and why they do this. It makes little to no sense. And they've done this quite a few times. We've needed number six since last season. You know what happened with the
Mm-hmm.
Lavia and then the Casaido bit, and then we got Endo as a stopgap measure. So it's not like you can say that we didn't need a number six in the system because we knew how Arne Slot does. The thing that frustrates me the most, more than Zubimendi turning us down after saying a yes, is why we do this. Why can't we have options? We've got a pretty decent, transfer committee per se. We've got people who know the Premier League. We've got people who know how Liverpool operate. So you can't tell me that, I couldn't find a number six and this is the only thing we'll go for. In hindsight, obviously, Zubimendi did say yes to us because that's what the leaks have said that he did tell us yes and then he turned his he changed his decision. I understand that completely because in a few months' time, Trent Alexander-Arnold will also be out of a contract, and Real Madrid will possibly come calling. Now, if Real Madrid come calling, it's difficult for anyone to turn down. And what are you going to ask him to say? Like, what will you offer him? Like, you can offer him money, but obviously you'll say that this is your boyhood club. We want you to stay. You become the captain. You lead us to glory. That's the same thing that possibly was told to Zubimendi. And homesickness is a thing. If you don't want to sign somebody, and then 6 months later he turns down and says, I'm not enjoying the weather, I'm not enjoying the food, I want to go back. So I'm okay with Zubimendi not coming in. What I'm upset about is we not having any other number six on the horizon when we desperately need one. So yeah, I mean that's my biggest issue over here.
Yeah, I think there are some teams that have picked up some number sixes, right? Bayern Munich picked up Paulinia, PSG picked up that young kid from I think Portugal, right? He's supposed to be João Neves, supposed to be very exciting. So it's not like there weren't options. There definitely were options out there, and you guys probably didn't move quick enough. And then,
No, we say this nonsense that he has to fit the system and fit the playing style. I
hmm,
don't know if you can say that for like, I mean, there has to be somebody else apart from Zubimendi, right? It can't be like he is the only one.
hmm,
So
hmm,
it's not, and yeah, you're right about us being late in the transfer window because we slept. We were sleeping for 2 months, unless, and I don't know, there are 2 weeks left in the window, and unless there's some blockbuster move that happens from us, which is highly improbable, we might start the season with just one signing, which we'll discuss is the goalkeeper situation.
hmm, hmm, hmm. Yeah, that's kind of interesting, right? Because when we were talking about this, I was just looking through the names of who are the other sixes out there, and I talked about Palinia and all of these guys, but they don't really fit the same mold as Zubimendi. So I don't know. I think you are right. You have to be a little flexible, but I don't know. It's not that easy. They probably should have moved a little quicker on that. And then question about the fact that over the last couple of years, you guys don't seem to be able to close out a lot of these transfers. We saw that with Bellingham, I think Chouameni before that, even with Caicedo and Lavia that you talked about last time. What do you think is going on? Is it the money, or is it just the fact that some of these players probably want to stay in Spain or London or like a bigger city? What's going on? Because Liverpool is clearly a bigger team than Chelsea, especially in the current quagmire that Chelsea find themselves in. Like, what's going on there?
So I think it's difficult for any club to compete with Real Madrid. When
Mm-hmm.
that Real Madrid pull comes in, you can't do anything. So there were discussions and talks. If Jurgen Klopp was there and he would have called Zubimendi, he would have come in. No, that would not have happened because Jurgen Klopp was there when Chouameni turned us down. We did a lot of groundwork on him, and he clearly said that Real Madrid came calling, I'll go there. The Bellingham one, yeah, I do agree. I think we could have landed him. We did so much talking, so much work, and then uh, it made little sense to me that we didn't make that big money move when a few weeks later we signed Dominic Soboslai for similar money, maybe a little less, but it was similar money. It wasn't like he was a cheap signing. So Bellingham could have come to us, but then again, it could have been that it's a Real Madrid thing. He wants to play for them. Fine. The Caicedo one, I think it was a really weird move from us because we all knew that Chelsea were wanting to sign him. The player had said yes to Chelsea. I don't know why we tried to do that. That was a slap in the face for us when he turned us down. And then we decided, oh, no, 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 let's go back to our original transfer, Lavia. And he's like, oh, get
He
lost, man.
also
I'm not
turned
coming
you
here.
down.
Yeah, you go home, take a hike. I'm
Yeah,
moving on.
yeah.
So, see, this just shows that the planning is just not there, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
sure, we got some really good signing in like Van Dijk and Allison and even Luis Diaz to an extent. It was a surprise signing because we swept him from under Tottenham's eyes or whatever. But I don't know. The transfers haven't clicked as well as you would have expected. But then again, we did something really good with McAllister. We got
Yeah.
that transfer in, and he's been excellent for us. So I think it's hits and misses. But the glaring thing is that we don't sign as many players as other teams do. So when we fail, everybody makes a big deal out of it. And
True.
for this window, they rightly should. I mean, what's happening?
Uh, Two quick questions. One is, what do you think about Adam Wharton? Do you think you guys should go for him? Because
Yeah.
he's probably somebody young who fits the system as well. Really good on the ball, really composed, good in his tackling as well. He's not going to come cheap. Crystal Palace just bought him last season, and they're not going to let him go for cheap, especially this late in the season.
Yeah, so Adam Wharton was one of the top players during the final months of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he was an astute signing by Palace, and I think he's destined for great things. I would love him at Liverpool. I think he fits us quite well. The only issues, as you rightly said, is that he was just signed by Palace and he won't come in cheap. And
Mm-hmm.
so you see, he fits the FSG mold, right? That he's a young player, he can
Yeah.
grow, and we have splashed the cash when it's needed. So if teams can, like we are talking about Trey and Yoi and the likes of Harvey Elliott maybe getting more time and stuff like this, why can't we go for another young player? He's English, he knows the
Mm-hmm.
league. There's no issue of him feeling sick unless he wants to go back to London.
No.
So yeah,
He can take the train and come
yeah, he
back.
can
I
take
don't
the trade.
know.
So I'd be surprised if he does move this late in the window, but he is
Yeah.
a great player. He's like destined for good things. I would love
Yeah.
him here.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the second thing, right? Like, what is Slot saying about all of this? Is he getting a little frustrated, or is he like calm and collected?
So that was one of the good things about Slot, right? So you don't get those emotional outbursts that you would sometimes
Hmm.
get from Klopp. Although Klopp was very respectful of the owners, he did hint that he wasn't getting the backing or support at times, or he couldn't make the moves that he wanted to. Slot hasn't really spoken much about it. He did speak early on that that he wanted signings to come in, uh, and he said it'd be really weird if we didn't have any signings. But I don't think he knew that we won't be getting a number six this deep into the season. The thing is that this guy knows how to coach players, and there have been rumors and talks about us molding some of our current staff to play as the number six. Ryan Gravenberg is somebody who's possibly going to be the number six. I saw some of the highlights, but obviously highlights don't give you the entire picture. So we need to see what happens with that. Slot could turn people around. Klopp did
Hmm.
that at this time.
Yeah.
Slot has been brought in to actually work with the group of players that we have. We know he's a good coach at developing players. So we could keep an eye on that and see how Gravenberg or maybe somebody else, maybe Soboslai. There was a lot of talk about Soboslai playing a deeper role. So let's
Yeah,
see.
that's
Let's see.
that's what coaches get paid for, right? To develop players and more players. Let's see. Okay, moving on. I think the one player you guys might end up signing is the goalkeeper, right? I really don't know how to pronounce his name. Georgi Mamardashvili. Is that correct?
Yes, 100% correct.
Okay.
Yeah, very
Go
nice.
ahead.
Very nice. So this came out of the blue because we have our goalkeeper situation more or less fixed in the sense that Allison is a number one and he can play, as I said, 2, 3 years, maybe 4 years more in the top level. We've got Kelleher who can deputize for him and did really well last
Really
season when
good last
Allison was
season. Yeah.
injured. The problem is that Kelleher now wants regular play time and he wants to be the number one.
Makes
He
sense.
can't be that at Liverpool. So our policy is, which is a little weird, that you would think that Kelleher might take over from Allison once he does leave, is that maybe send Kelleher out on loan to a Premier League side, let him gain experience. But apparently we want to sell him for 20 or 25 million. And Mamadashvili seems to be the one that we want to get. It's not done yet. It's still not done yet. There are some loopholes that are going around, but he was absolutely brilliant for, I think, Georgia in
Mm-hmm.
the Euros. He's been one of the best keepers in the La Liga. He plays for Valencia right now. So the talk has been, which is really interesting, is that we will sign Mamadashvili next season, but this season he'll go and play for Bournemouth on
Hmm.
loan.
Okay.
Because there are some rules from the Premier League that say that you can't sign a player and then send them out on loan again.
Hmm.
So Bournemouth was actually the former club of Richard Hughes. So Richard Hughes is signing a player for
Ah.
Bournemouth before he's signing a player for us.
That's okay, man. That's like meme material. Oh my
Yes, me
God.
material. So see, it makes sense because Mamadashvili will get Premier League experience. He'll understand what's
Yeah.
going on. Bournemouth is a team that plays really good football, so he knows he has to play it out from the back. It's still not done yet because I think we're still haggling with Valencia over the price. I think it's 5 million or somewhere in between.
Hmm.
Plus, we can't send him back to Valencia, it seems, on loan because they don't want to cover his wages, his higher wages
Hmm.
after he signs the deal.
Understandable.
So the one thought process that a lot of fans are bringing this up, like why are we going for somebody already when he's not going to take over this season, is that we believe that Allison might leave next season.
Yeah.
There has been a lot of interest from big money clubs, from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, etc. And it makes sense for him to take that one big last
Yeah.
payday,
Paycheck. Yeah.
enjoy it. Yeah, 2, 3 years. Okay, fine, you're playing in the heat, but you'll get the money and you can just set your family for a few generations.
Absolutely.
So Allison goes next season. We bring Mamadashvili in. He's already one of the best young keepers in the world. And yeah, he could. This could be really smart, a really smart move. But let's
Yeah.
see if it goes over the line.
But for next season, what about this
But for
season?
next season, not even this season, next season.
Oh man. Okay, I think that was the last thing, right? Like those are the only guys you're trying to sign a six, and you're about to sign a goalkeeper for next season.
I hope
Hopefully,
we make, yeah, I hope we make some signings because, as I said, that
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't want to do episodes where I just talk about hypothetical signings, but I want to talk about people
yeah.
who've actually joined. So there
Oh
are
my
two
God.
weeks left. There are
Yeah.
so
But this time,
there's time, but
yeah.
that's not what Liverpool do, right? They don't do those last minute.
Buy Conor Gallagher from us. Why?
I know it's surprising why we aren't doing that.
I don't
He's in
know.
limbo.
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
there were talks about Gallagher coming to not Liverpool, but we were interested in him last
Hmm.
season. So I'm surprised why we aren't doing this. It's a deal that both clubs could be happy with.
Yeah, but he's
He's
not a
English.
six though, right? Yeah, he's definitely not a
Yeah.
six.
But
That's
then,
the problem.
Slot could work with him, who knows?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
that's to be seen what happens with Gallagher.
Yep, yep. Okay, so I think yeah, that basically was our kind of transfer roundup for Liverpool. I don't even want to get into Chelsea, so
We're
let's.
gonna need a 2 hour special for that, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's a shit show. It's a shit show. Okay, I think yeah, that was the end of this part of the podcast. So the next podcast that we'll release together is going to preview the first weekend of the Premier League. So see you on the other side.